Now, I want to get back to UK politics here, and another one has bitten the dust. Nigel Farage's Reform Party has poached another Conservative MP. This time it's the former Home Secretary, Suella Braverman. Here she is speaking yesterday.
The truth is that in recent years, I have found myself effectively in a social democrat, left-leaning party made up of Conservatives in name only. No wonder I have felt politically homeless for years.
And what she's lost isn't her career within the Conservative Party. What she's lost is her battle to get the Conservative Party in the place that she thought it ought to be.
Some of this is redolent of what we're seeing with One Nation and the coalition here, isn't it? The Conservative Party leader, Kemi Badenoch, shrugged off the loss, but there are fears that more MPs are considering their options. Let's bring in writer and broadcaster Esther Krakue joining us from the UK. Esther, walk us through this. This is quite significant. I mean, Nigel Farage, a protest movement in many ways, without a really good organisation and numbers of MPs behind him, but he's bringing them on board and quite significant figures from the Conservative Party.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see a lot more high-profile defections up until May when you have sort of local elections, which is basically the deadline that Reform has set publicly for any Conservative defections. And that's not even a guarantee that if you're a Conservative MP or former MP that you'll actually be accepted into Reform, which is something that has been made clear by Zia Youssef. I was actually expecting Suella Braverman to be the first high-profile Tory to defect to Reform, one, because her husband was already flirting and part of Reform, but also because she was probably the most prominent Conservative minister who was basically at odds with her own government, saying we have to leave the ECHR, we need to use mechanisms to stop this ridiculous boat crossings across the Channel from France of these illegal migrants. Why did the Conservative Party spend all this money actually hiring Australian consultants so that we can achieve the results that your country did back in 2012 if we were just going to jettison it? The Rwanda scheme she championed as well, which, the Labour Party basically got rid of on day one. And now they've hit a record of the worst numbers of boat crossings across the Channel. They have no control over our borders. And no doubt that also includes people actually dying in the Channel that don't get enough publicity because it would just mire this current Labour government in more scandal. So what Reform is doing is trying to cherry pick basically failed Tories. And I know there's concern because people don't want Reform to be the Tory party. The country has overwhelmingly rejected the Tories. But they have to learn from the Tories' mistakes in order to be successful and understand what is going to take to get this country back on track.
Now, we all understand immigration. We've talked about the immigration issue in the UK many times over recent years on this program. That seems to be the number one issue driving people to Reform. What would you say are the other issues? What are issues 2 and 3 where Reform have got it over the Conservatives?
Oh, definitely cost of living and energy. I mean, our energy policy is probably the most bonkers thing ever because we have one of the highest energy prices in the industrialized world, and yet we're literally an island floating on energy. It doesn't make any sense. We have our current energy minister, Ed Miliband, who lives in cloud cuckoo land, who's banning drilling in the drilling of oil in the North Sea, which Donald Trump has rightly said is completely insane. We were supposed to be having £300 off of our yearly energy bills for years now. That hasn't happened. We've invested hundreds of billions of pounds into renewable energy since 2010, and prices have only skyrocketed. So that's something that's certainly resonating with a lot of Reform-leaning voters because it's really crushing businesses as well. It's
extraordinary, Esther. I don't know whether you've ever been to Australia, but if we changed a few names, including of the parties, and swapped out Reform for One Nation and the Conservative Party for the coalition here, and those issues, immigration, energy and cost of living, this same scenario is playing out here in identical fashion, which is why the UK situation is endlessly fascinating for us. But I do want to go to something a little bit off-piste, if you like, because you've brought to our attention what the Labor government, what the Starmer government is doing in the UK, the latest step on animal rights, and they're banning the tossing of crabs or lobsters into boiling water. Can you talk us through this one? Surely this is overreach.
Yes, this is clearly a part of Keir Starmer's horde of vegans that are creating this policy to further overburden the hospitality industry. Apparently, you can't boil lobsters alive. Their solution is to stun them. Even the professional industrial stunning equipment costs at least £3,500, and they're not small. So this is a burden on already struggling businesses. But you just also have to think of the logic of this. So you're not going to ban you're not going to make religious exceptions for like halal slaughter, for example, which is far more cool than boiling lobsters alive. Exactly, but you expect us to cuddle animals to death. I mean, they're also trying to ban CO2, slaughtering cows with CO2 by knocking them out with the carbon dioxide gas, which is actually quite a common practice, particularly in places like Germany. And their solution, again, is to read them Spandau Ballet's lyrics and cuddle them to death. It's ludicrous.
We have an expression in Australia that says, don't come the raw prawn with me. And I reckon Starmer is coming the raw prawn with the Brits when he's banning the boiling of lobsters and crabs. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next week, Esther. Esther Krakue there.